So I'll scroll down to those. There's detailed flood fill. So the resolution that's here, if I press detailed flood fill, it fills it in with that 40 resolution. So it should be a bit more detailed now, which it is. Now the hand can be quite tough, but if we have a look at our reference image, we can see the thumb going down here and it sort of goes behind our shape, which can be very difficult to picture. The best way to do this, in my opinion, is with the draw shaft, make it fairly small, draw a line down here, so you've got your thumb that's coming down here and it goes back across here, so I'll just draw a line down here. I'll zoom in on this object with full stop on my numpad. Now there is another way in Sculpt Mode to do that, which is Alt middle mouse button, and that centers your camera around that object, which can be very useful as well. And I'm drawing around here where the thumb should go. Now it looks a bit strange at the moment. We've got this line going around here like this. Then we can go back to the draw brush, resize it and make it a bit thicker. So I'm keeping my mesh still very simple at 40 in terms of resolution, just having this thumb going across so I know roughly where that is. I can smooth a bit of this out as well, as if the fingers are coming down here, but I'll add those details in a bit later. You'll probably find that the hardest out of all the shapes, so it might take a tiny bit of practice. But remember, the thumb is coming out here and down. It probably needs a little bit of adjustment really, so I use the snake hook, resize slightly and just move that to the front there, and move my wrist up into the forearm more, so it makes a bit more sense. So the thumb comes out, sort of follows the line of the forearm and then down the front of your hand. Of course it kind of goes without saying, but look at your own hand as a reference, so clench your fist of your left hand in this case, and that should help you. Now don't worry if it's sticking out really far like this one. That will kind of help us a bit later on when we come to more detailed sculpting. But just get the general shape for now. I'll just make some minor adjustments for my own peace of mind. And there we go. Okay, so it's getting a bit more detailed now. We'll cover the head in the next session. But your challenge now is to use some reference images, use the background images as well, to try and get closer to the background images. Remember to keep the resolution low, don't try and go too detailed at the moment. I'll talk about how we can approach more detailed sculpting in later lectures. If you don't feel confident and you just want to follow along with me, then you can restart the video and you'll see me creating the rest of the shape. So see how you get on with that. Okay, so I'm just going to continue. I'll speed it up just a touch. Let's move on to the bicep, so Alt left click, make sure Dyn Topo's ticked, make sure we're in 40. I'll scroll up to the top so you can see which brush I'm using nice and easily, and I'll just sort out the bicep just slightly. It's very chunky and wide at the moment, and to be fair it's not too bad, it's alright really. The triceps are bigger at the top and thinner down at the bottom here, and that looks okay. I might just use the draw brush, resize it slightly, and just dig in a touch there, and at the top there as well. Okay, the forearms, Alt left click, make sure Dyn Topo's on, and I'm at 40. giving him sort of very bulging forearms, and just lining them up with the wrist there. Probably a little bit sharp there. It's a bit stylized, it's not completely real, so just having a bit of fun with the stylization of his forearms. Okay, now onto the legs, Alt left click. Just having a look what they look like at the moment. Make sure I'm in sculpt mode, up to Dyn Topo, make sure that's ticked and get rid of the warning, and that we're on 40. That's great. Now they're a bit thicker towards the groin here, a little bit thinner down here, so I can just cut in with my draw brush with control held, a little bit thinner down here as well. And you have a muscle that goes up that way. So there's a bit of muscle to the legs, but not much. And if you've got a very sort of fat pork, you don't really have to worry too much. Just get a nice sort of blobby shape. Let's just sort of tie it in underneath the buttocks like this, and then we can see how they tie in together. And I might just Alt left click on the trunk area and make this come out. And Alt left click on the base, into sculpt mode, and Dyn Topo at 40. Just give the base a little bit more shape at the bottom, and maybe some sort of heels here, and just in a bit towards the top, around the knees. And I'm just smoothing out the bottom so it's slightly flatter. Let's go over to side view and see if we're matching up. And I'm just rounding out the shape a bit as well. So there we go, slightly more detailed sculpt. So make sure you saved your work, and we'll be doing the head in the next lecture. Okay, so now it's time to delve in a bit deeper with the sculpting tools. So we're going to start working on the head, and we're going to go a bit more detailed. So first of all, I need to make sure my head's selected, so I'll come up to here and choose Object Mode, and then click on my head. And again, because I've got the Edit and Lock Object modes unticked, that means it puts me straight into sculpt mode. So I'll zoom in on this object, but I can't press full stop on my numpad, because that will take me to the object center, which is right here. Instead, Alt middle click is a better choice, because now my camera is centered around the head and I can zoom in. So let's make sure Dyn Topo is ticked again. Check what resolution we're on, and we're on 40. Now I think for the head we can turn this up to a 60, but it's worth remembering that the head now has a higher resolution than the rest of the body. And that will be important when we join our mesh together. So I'll select my snake hook tool, and I'll go to front view and just start pulling and pushing into place. I'll go to wireframe so I can see the background. Resize my brush with F, and then start pulling it around. And you can see suddenly the vertices that are added to my shape. And that's easy enough from front view. Let's go to side view now. Now the tricky bit is to make sure that you get the actual front of your object. Can you see how my circle changes to show me exactly where I'm pulling from? So if I come around here and try to pull, I'm pulling out the side bit rather than the middle bit as well. So I need to be about there pulling it in. But I still need to come around to the front and just double check, and I may have to pull out other bits as well. So if I go back to side view and just line the sides up, is probably the easiest way. I'll do a tiny bit of a nose and just pull the eyes up a bit, and just the front jaw there. Somewhere around there. Let's go back to solid view and see roughly what we've got. So we've got this sort of blobby mess, and now we can start matching up the middle to the sides. And in fact, we might have to pull the sides back to give it some curvature. I can use the smooth brush. Got a sort of Popeye chin there. And let's just double check side view and Z to go to wireframe and just check on the jawline. Back to solid view and just smoothing out so we've got the general shape. Okay, so that's smoothed out. Now it's a good idea to get into a position somewhere around here so you can see the background reference image. Just there. You could always copy this and move it above if you want, but I think this is just fine. Also I've got my references on another screen as well to help. And now we can go in and try and get the facial features. So first of all, let's pull the brow down so it meets up with the eyes. And the eyes should be roughly in the middle of the face. As you can see there, they're right in the middle of the skull. And then let's pull out for a nose just there. It's got quite a small nose, so I'll squish it in just a touch. So there's a little nose there, and I'll use the draw brush now for the mouth. So I'll resize the brush, bring it down, and our mouth comes round here to around there. And you can see actually that the mouth comes up, down and up again. So I'm trying to match the shape with the reference. And we've roughly got it there. Let's dig a bit further in with the eyes, with the draw brush, holding down control and just digging in there. And I'll dig in a tiny bit around the nose. So now we've got a very basic looking orc. And the next stage here is to start thinking whether the shape really works. Yes, we've copied the reference images, but we haven't got that 3D look. So it's very flat at the front and at the sides. So with either the snake tool or the grab brush, it doesn't matter too much because it's got the same topology now. We can then grab the sides back to make it more round. I'll just smooth out that end there. So that's a bit better. The teeth, ears and horns I'll leave for the next stage of sculpting, where we start adding a bit more detail. So the challenge from this lecture is to complete the face. Make sure you have a resolution. Make sure your Dyntopo resolution is slightly above the other shapes to give it a bit more detail. So that concludes this lecture. Make sure you save your work for next time. In this lecture, you'll be learning how to combine all your shapes together using Ball Tools and the Remesh option. And this is to get us ready for the more detailed sculpting. So we can join our mesh together in a couple of ways. The first one I'll show you is the simplest, and for this I'll hide the background images, so I'll come up to here in my outliner and click on the background images so that it's easy to see. I'll need to be in layout mode and in object mode, and I can select all, and the simplest way to join them together is press Ctrl J to join. Now if they've joined successfully, you'll see a yellow outline around it. I'm going to undo that quickly. If for any reason it doesn't join, it's because you haven't got an active object. Occasionally when you box select like this, if you had something else selected and it was hidden, that would be the active object and it gets confused. So make sure that one of your objects has a yellow outline, like the trunk does here. So that's the active object. So whenever you join to that object, you are copying the properties of that object. So the object center, which is in the middle here, will be the new object center for our whole new object. So I'll press Ctrl J again, so it's all joined together. Now you can't start sculpting on this now. If I go to sculpt mode and start sculpting, you can see that it looks like it's doing an okay job. Let's go to the draw tool and start drawing as well. But for some reason, I'm getting this strange line down the middle here. So I'll undo those steps. And if I go inside my object, you can see that there's still an inside shape here. So the objects where they overlapped are still overlapping. So when you try and sculpt between your shapes, you'll get problems. What we need to do at this point, using this method, is to remesh our object. And that's the really clever thing about the remesh. If we come up to the remesh, choose my voxel size, I'll use the pipette for this and I'll choose the head for the size, and back to the remesh. So it's 0.01 and press remesh. It remeshes my whole object using the resolution of the head. The other great thing about the remesh is that if I go inside my mesh now, it's taken away those sections and we can start sculpting on it without any issues. So if I come into here, for example, there's no line. Now I'm going to undo that quickly, and you may have noticed that I lost a bit of resolution with the head. So in order to keep that, I'm going to go to the remesh, just double check that I've got that resolution selected. Back up to the remesh, so at 0.01, I'm going to lower this slightly because I'll need a bit more detail on my shape anyway. I'll go to 0.006 and press remesh. So we've got a bit more resolution, but if I undo again, you can see we've lost a tiny bit, but not too much. So this time I'll go down to 0.04 and remesh. And that looks good, and it's a nice resolution to work on with our shape. The best way to test it is to try and smooth an area out and see how it's working. It might be a tiny bit high detail for what we need, but it's all looking fine. If you need to know where you're at in terms of the face count, if you look down here, we're under 300,000 faces, and that should be okay for most decent computers. My computer's 3 years old with a 4th generation i7 processor, and it can manage up to about 6 million faces, as long as I'm not in Dyntopo mode. So now we can start editing our shape and adding more detail. The main place we want to add a bit of detail is the head. So what I'm going to do now is show you another way of joining objects. Now you'll notice that the remesh has actually changed our shape slightly, so if we had sculpted some details in here, we would have lost some of that detail. So there is another way of joining objects where you don't lose that detail. So what we'll do is we'll add an ear on the side here. I'll go back to layout mode for this, move around to the side, shift right click to move my cursor to the ear position, actually down very slightly. The ear should be between the top of the eye and the bottom of the